Bill O'Reilly here. Welcome to the No Spin News analysis of the second presidential debate held this evening in Nashville, Tennessee. Okay, so I'm going to give you the overall, and then we'll get a little specific. President Trump won the debate by sheer force of personality. Now, if you are a Biden supporter, you think he won the debate. If you are a Trump supporter, you feel he won the debate. But if you step back and you look at the two men as leaders, Donald Trump had more power behind his presentation. All right, I know something about power, and he did. But I have to say that Joe Biden didn't really falter. There were no mental acuity issues. He said what he wanted to say in a fairly straightforward fashion. Now, the arch was that Trump is incompetent, and on the other side, that Biden is just a politician, an old-time hack, and a corrupt man. And there we have the singular part of the debate that really matters, the corruption issue. As you may know, today, a business partner to Hunter Biden came out and said that Joe Biden actively was involved in enriching his son by using the office of the vice presidency in foreign nations. That happened today, all right? That's added onto the Hunter Biden computer, the hard drive that contained all kinds of things that heavily imply, that Hunter Biden was making millions of dollars because his father was vice president. All right. So that shrouded over the entire debate. Now, clearly, the NBC News moderator, Kristen Welker, who did a good job, didn't want to talk about that. She was told by her bosses at Comcast not to really get into that too much. And here's the proof. Ms. Welker had no specific questions about it. None. Incurious. All right? Now, earlier today, we heard Leslie Stahl, because President Trump put out the 60 Minutes interview, tell the president that all the accusations against Joe Biden are, quote unquote, unverified. And that's why Leslie Stahl, wasn't really interested in talking about that. Now, I told you earlier this week on this program, the No Spin News, and I don't believe anybody else did, that was the strategy borne out in Washington among the Democrats paid to get Joe Biden elected, that this is all unverified. But tonight it was taken a step further. So it's a little confusing, and I want everybody to be with me now. So the debate starts with COVID, but there's nothing that really happens. It's Biden, Trump's fault, everybody's dead. Trump saying, we did a great job, and here's why. And it goes nowhere. We've heard it a million times. So you either think that President Trump did a decent job or you don't. All right? Nobody had anything new. Ms. Welker was very energetic in presenting the COVID topic. But again, it just didn't go anywhere. The one thing that was said by President Trump is that there will be a vaccine soon. Now, he said that before, and Biden dismissed that. Biden says there's going to be another 200,000 Americans dead. Okay, how he knows that, I don't know, but that's what it was. Now, after the COVID thing, and during that discussion, Trump took a shot at Biden about the money and the Hunter Biden whole scenario. Okay? After that, the debate then got into this whole corrupt politician thing. So I'm going to play you some sound bites that are important. These sound bites are important. The first one is that Joe Biden told the nation tonight that he did nothing wrong, his son didn't do anything wrong, he has not enriched his family by using his political power, and that this whole thing is trumped up, pardon the pun, by Putin and the Russians. Roll the tape.
His own national security advisor told him that what is happening with his buddy, I will. His buddy, Rudy Giuliani, he's being used as a Russian pawn. He's being fed information that is Russian, that is not true.
All right, so the Russians are trying to sabotage Joe Biden. That's how the whole computer thing got out. That's hard to believe. All right, it's hard to believe. But again, the corporate media, NBC, which control the debate tonight, CBS, 60 Minutes, Leslie Stahl, they're not going to report this because it's unverified. Now, everybody knows that the Russian collusion stuff was unverified and they ran with it for 3 years. But that's an aside. Now, Donald Trump desperately wanted to get this story in front of the American people. Roll it.
But now, with what came out today, it's even worse. All of the emails, the horrible emails of the kind of money that you were raking in, you and your family. And Joe, you were vice president when some of this was happening, and it should have never happened. And I think you owe an explanation to the American people. Why is it? Somebody just had a news conference a little while ago who was essentially supposed to work with you and your family, but what he said was damning. And regardless of me, I think you have to clean it up and talk to the American people. Maybe you can do it right now.
Well, Mr. Biden isn't going to do it because he says this is a fabrication put out by the Russians to try to get him defeated. And then he segues into the corruption that he alleges Donald Trump has by the tax situation. So there have been reports that the president had a secret Chinese bank account. Mr. Trump explained that pretty well. He said as a businessman, he opened a bank account in China in 2013, and when he decided not to do business there, he closed it in 2015. I think that's true. But Mr. Biden tried to hammer Trump on that. But the president brought it right back. Go.
I prepaid because at some point they think it's an estimate. They think I may have to pay tax. So I already prepaid it. Nobody told me that.
Did your accountant
Nobody
tell
told
when
you that.
release
Excuse
them?
me. And it wasn't written whenever they write this. They keep talking about $750, which I think is a filing fee. But let me just tell you, I prepaid millions and millions of dollars in taxes. Number one. Number two, I don't make money from China. You do. I don't make money from Ukraine. You do. I don't make money from Russia. You made $3.5 million, Joe, and your son gave you. They even have a statement that we have to give 10% to the big man. You're the big man, I think. I don't know. Maybe you're not, but you're the big man, I think. Your son said we have to give 10% to the big man. Joe, what's that all about? It's terrible.
Okay, so I don't know whether American voters who support Joe Biden are going to care about this at all. I don't know. As a journalist, this is a big story. And there's 11 days where that story could unfold. Now, tomorrow, the Senate is going to call in the business partner of Hunter Biden because he has phones and more transcripts and more emails and all of that. Okay? So Biden knows this is a problem, but he's never going to admit that. And here's what he said. Go.
My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about? China. I have not had, the only guy made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
All right, so we the people don't know who made money from China and who didn't. All right, we know Hunter Biden was involved in business there. We don't know what his bank accounts say or his tax returns say. Very interesting point was brought up by President Trump when he said that Joe Biden had been paid more than $900,000 by the University of Pennsylvania or something attached to it, and that money came from China. It was washed through the University of Pennsylvania. Now, Biden did not deny that. And Biden has released his tax return, so I guess the $900,000 showed up on it. I'm going to pursue that a little bit longer. But Biden had a rehearsed answer. He knew that Trump was going to use a large part of this debate to ram Hunter Biden down his throat. But Trump didn't concentrate on the son. He heavily suggested that Joe Biden himself made money and is a corrupt man. Okay? That's what he did. And that's what he was told to do by his advisor. Stay away from Hunter, keep it on Joe. But Biden had a comeback ready. Roll it.
It's not about his family and my family. It's about your family. And your family's hurting badly. If you're making less than, if you're a middle-class family, you're getting hurt badly right now. You're sitting at the kitchen table this morning deciding, well, we can't get new tires, they're bald because we have to wait another month or so. Or are we going to be able to pay the mortgage? Or who's going to tell her she can't go back to community college? They're the decisions you're making in the middle-class families like I grew up in Scranton and Claymont. They're in trouble. We should be talking about your families, but that's the last thing he wants to talk about.
Okay, that was rehearsed. Biden delivered it pretty well. I mean, they were going to allow, let's talk about your family. This family business is out, and we're not going to do this, and leave my family alone, even though they may have made, and I believe they did make, Biden's two brothers and his son, I believe they made tens of millions of dollars. Not millions, tens of millions. I could be wrong. I don't have subpoena power. I do not believe that all of this Hunter Biden stuff is a setup, all right, from Russia. I do believe there are anti-Biden forces that are aiding Donald Trump, helping him get information. But I think the information may be damning. And if it comes out before the vote, Biden could get hurt. Ms. Welker didn't want any part of this, as I said. NBC didn't want any part of this at all. Neither does CBS or ABC. ABC hasn't covered any of it. NPR flat out says, we're not covering it. We're not going to cover it because it's a diversion. This is NPR, okay? And our tax money goes into that news organization, National Public Radio. They say it's a diversion. A diversion from what? You rooting for Joe Biden to win? That's what it's, yeah, that's a diversion from that. Okay, but that's outrageous. So the press is really walking a dangerous line here, particularly if more information comes out that Joe Biden himself got money from foreign nations. And Trump went back to it for the first 40 minutes. But then the moderator did something very strange, all right? She went into North Korea. For what reason? I mean, is that a big thing for you? It's not for me. It looks like North Korea is contained at this point. I'd much rather hear about Iran. That didn't come up. Why would you go into North Korea? I don't even know why they wasted time on this stupid thing. I was tweeting, and I get, why are we talking about North Korea? This seems to be an NBC News obsession. Nobody cares about North Korea. What a waste of time. Okay? And then they got into healthcare. All right, and then President Trump says, oh, you want socialized medicine. And Biden goes, oh, I don't want socialized medicine. And Trump goes, I have a great health plan. And I told the Republican Party 18 months ago, you really should have something. They never came up with anything. Now, that's the Democrats' strongest issue, because Americans don't trust the Republicans on health care. All right? So I didn't learn anything from that. And then they started arguing about who's going to hurt Social Security and who's going to do this and who's going to do that. But then Trump did something very interesting in the last 20 minutes of the debate, and this is why I think he won. Every time Biden said, I'm going to do, which he did every 2 minutes, and he was not specific, go to my website, I'm going to do this, Trump just goes, hey, you had 8 years, you didn't do anything. You had 8 years, why didn't you do it then? And at the end, Biden finally said, well, there was a Republican Congress, but he got battered. Trump battered him with that. Hey, Joe, you've been in government for 47 years, federal government, you don't do anything. And then when they brought up race, and this surprised Ms. Welker, all right, Trump said, I'm the most effective president for blacks since Abraham Lincoln, all right? And then he peeled off a number of things that he's done to help the African-American community, which are all true, okay? Welker tried to inject the crazy stuff about the border crossings being rapists and all that, but it didn't really resonate. And then Biden was pinned back because Biden's crime bill in the 80s hurt African Americans. But now Biden's saying, I don't want anybody to go to jail because of narcotics offenses. I don't want anybody going to jail. So you can sell heroin, you can do whatever you want. I don't want you in jail. And that was Barack Obama's policy. It's a nonviolent crime. Don't put them in jail. Let them sell heroin to the 14-year-old. Let them sell methamphetamine and crack cocaine. Go ahead. Let them. What do you think these gangs in Chicago gunning everybody down are doing? What do you think they're doing? Now, Trump should have absolutely leapt into that and said, Joe, you're so soft on crime, you don't have one endorsement from any law enforcement agency. Donald Trump missed opportunities. That was a big one. I said, you don't know what you're doing. I mean, 30, 40 years ago, you want to put every black person in jail, and now you want to let everybody out. What's the matter with you? You have no policy at all. And the cops endorse me. And then on the border, when they did the cage thing, Obama put them in cages. No, you put them in cages. The same thing. We've heard it a million times. But why didn't Donald Trump say to Biden, in that debate, you said you'd pay the health care costs of every illegal alien that comes to this country? Why didn't he do that? I'm sitting there going, come on, that's the crusher. So the president was prepared at one level, but he didn't knock Biden out. Knocked him down, didn't knock him out. Biden didn't hurt Trump this time around. Didn't hurt him. Last time, Trump hurt himself. Biden didn't hurt him this time. Now, Biden held his own, as I said, held his own. And I think Trump probably, if you were looking at this and you were a blank slate, you would go, I'm going to vote for the more authoritative, powerful man to run the country. So in that regard, as I said at the top, Donald Trump won the debate. But again, you're not going to get any consensus by anybody who supports Joe Biden that actually happened. The interesting part of the illegal immigration debate was that Donald Trump says, look, these kids, because Ms. Welker was very, very passionate about 500 children can't find their parents. 500 children who illegally crossed into America can't find their parents. Donald Trump's answer was they didn't come with their parents. All right? They came with smugglers and bad people, that they brought them in here using them as cover, which is true to some extent, but how do you know? How do you know? You don't know. All right? So this was an interesting soundbite. Roll it.
These 500 plus kids came with parents. They separated them at the border to make it a disincentive to come to begin with. Real tough. We're really strong. And guess what? They cannot, it's not coyotes didn't bring them over. Their parents were with them. They got separated from their parents. And it makes us a laughing stock and violates every notion of who we are as a nation.
Let me ask you a follow-up question.
They did it. We changed the policy.
Your response to that?
They did it. We changed.
Did not.
They built the cages. Who built the cages, Joe?
Let's talk about what
Who built the cages, Joe?
Let's talk about what we're talking about. What happened? Parents were ripped, their kids were ripped from their arms and separated. And now they cannot find over 500 of sets of those parents, and those kids are alone.
All right, and Trump's reply was, they're not alone, they're being treated humanely, we can't find their parents because we don't even think they had parents to take them over. Again, this is unresolvable. Now, there's one other soundbite that I want to play. I want to alert our producers here. This is the place where Joe Biden lost track of what he was saying. It's the only time it happened. All right, so I was one who said, Biden, I'm not sure whether he can do this. All right, but for 90 minutes, he made his points. You may not agree with his points, but he made them. But there was one time that he was way off the track. Go.
People are making $6, $7, $8 an hour. These first responders, we all clap for as they come down the street because they've allowed us to make it. What's happening? They deserve a minimum wage of $15. Anything below that puts you below the poverty level.
All right. No first responders make minimum wage. Okay, police officers and firefighters and EMTs. Nobody does that. All right. So Joe clearly didn't know what he was saying there. And the argument was, should the federal government impose a minimum wage? Biden, of course, yes, because Biden wants the federal government to run everything. Donald Trump, no, said the state should do it because the difference between Alabama and New York and minimum wages have to be the same in each place. Both positions are, it doesn't matter to me at all. Let me see. Did I miss on healthcare? Doesn't ever go anywhere. I get the better plan. No, you do. No, I do. No, you do. African Americans, Trump was pretty strong on that. He was, I have to say. Biden called the Proud Boys the poor boys, but, Trump said the big man instead of the big guy. So, I'm not going to nitpick it. Global warming, do you really want to hear about it? Trump made a pretty persuasive case that the United States would have had to spend billions of dollars in the Paris Accord while China and Russia and India did nothing. And they're polluting the planet way more than we are. But Biden is going to solve it because it's an existential threat. But, this is where Trump falls down. You turn to him and you go, hey, if China and Russia and India aren't going to obey any of the pollution rules, then you're not going to solve it. Right, Joe? You see, I'm a simple man. You have to ask simple questions to me. So we are now through with the debates. Donald Trump is closing, and I'm watching this really, really carefully now. He's closing. The media is getting more desperate and ferocious against Trump. They won't cover the Hunter Biden stuff. The Trump people are insinuating that Biden himself got money through whatever his son was doing. There's a carve out, all right, for Biden, 10% in China, whatever. I'm not sure whether this information is going to reach the American people because, because the corporate media won't cover it. Now that is a scandal in itself. You saw Kristen Welker every time that Trump tried to get this in there about Hunter Biden and these deals, she cut him off. She was told to do that. Now, I think she did a pretty darn good job with that. Her questions were a little too long. She wouldn't ask what I would ask. I get right down to it, which is why I don't moderate these debates, because both candidates, if you read the questions that I would have asked, and they're on the message of the day, pretty good questions, I have to say. And they're short, but I need the answers. So right now, we have a situation where this election could go either way. The press will tell you, no. It's going to be a Biden victory, an easy victory for Biden. I don't think so. I'm going to watch it the next week, obviously, and see the key states and where they're heading. But Trump helped himself tonight. He helped himself because unlike the last debate where he was out of control, he was under control. And he spoke pretty well. He didn't dodge. And Biden was all generalities, but that's what Biden always does. He always does that. And Obama did it too. Obama won on hope and change. That's what he won on. I don't know what that is. And Trump used that. Like, hey, you guys had 8 years. You didn't prove any of this. And I did X, boom, 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 boom in 3.5 years. And you at 8 years didn't do anything. People are voting for or against Donald Trump. Not me. I'm voting for the country. I don't want the country to be disassembled. And I don't believe Joe Biden is going to stand up, even though he said, about the fracking now and I don't want single-payer health care. I don't think he's standing up. All right. We didn't even get into the Supreme Court. I thought Ms. Welker would get in to the packing of the court, but she didn't. And we had to talk about North Korea. All right. That makes me angry because it was such a waste of time, valuable time. North Korea doesn't matter right now. Doesn't matter. Supreme Court matters to everybody. All right? Violation of rights, constitutional rights, matters. All right? What are you going to do, Joe? Confiscate guns? You're gonna do that? Try to knock the Second Amendment out? How about abortion on demand for any reason at any time? You for that? These are the questions I want answered. But Trump behaved. He behaved. Okay, I'm going to take a 2-minute and 15-second break because we got to pay the staff. And they really did a good job tonight. I mean, we turned this around. Does anybody in the business turn it around faster than we turn it around? And you don't have a pinhead panel where you don't know what they're talking about, all right? This is solid information, complete with sound bites, right to you. And we did it in what, 4 minutes? So I got to pay these people. And in order to do that, I have to have some advertising. But I don't want to have a lot of advertising on a very important night like tonight. So 2 minutes and 15 seconds from now, I will reappear. Please stay because I have some very interesting things to tell you. Go. All right, we're in a recession. Everybody knows it. Millions of Americans have lost their jobs, and now's the time to evaluate your financial portfolio. And I recommend you hold some gold and silver, and the company that I use is American Hartford Gold Group. I've been with them for years. They sell physical gold and silver. You can hold it, or they'll deliver it to your IRA. Gold is up more than 30% since I started telling you about the American Hartford Gold Group. So please call them now, tell them Bill sent you, and they'll give you $1,500 of free silver on your first order. The number is 877-444-GOLD-GOLD, 877-444-GOLD-GOLD, or text GOLD to 65532. If you are over the age of 50, I have an important message for you. There's a true alternative to AARP, the liberal retirement group that lobbies in favor of progressive policies. For less than $20 a year, an AMAC membership gives you members-only pricing on car insurance, roadside assistance, discounts on hotels and travel, cell phone plans, discount dental plans, and on and on and on and on. So please join more than 1 million fellow Americans right now at amac.us. And yes, I am a member. Visit amac.us, amac.us. Many of us are worried that our 401ks and retirement savings, everything we work for over a lifetime, could evaporate. With all the fake news, it's important to have an independent expert in our corner to preserve and grow our savings. It's simple. So please meet Silicon Valley angel investor and 5G expert Jeff Brown of Brownstone Research, whose only obligation is to us, to you. His newsletter, The Near Future Report, shares his analysis on where the stock market is going and when, which stocks are poised to rise and fall, and new ways to profit from the exploding tech market. His track record is amazing, so please go to bill5g.com. It's easy, bill5g.com. You will thank me. How about those wardrobe changes, huh? You didn't think I was that quick. Anyway, we appreciate our sponsors, and we hope you will check them out. So going forward, here's where we are as a country, all right? Deeply divided, everybody knows that. You have a segment of the population that hates Donald Trump personally, and that hatred overrides the issues. The issues are very important. And let me just stake it out for you very simply, because as you know, I'm a simple man. Whether you like Donald Trump personally or not, he has governed in a style that does not disassemble traditional America, all right? So if he's reelected, what we have here in this country will pretty much stay the same. You hope that the government will improve things. We all know that race relations have to be improved, that police agencies have to be very sensitive to the fact that they have to treat everybody the same way. We all know that, okay? We know that the environment is very important and that the federal government has to be proactive. We know that COVID is a vicious killer, and we are praying, those of us who believe in God, that a vaccine will come and finally mitigate this disaster. Now, I do not believe that Donald Trump is responsible for COVID or the people who have contracted it. I believe he could have been more proactive in urging people to wear masks, and I think that was a mistake, that he should have done it. But I'm Monday morning quarterbacking, all right? And I don't like to do that. But if I step back and I'm an analyst that's looking objectively at it, I say, what would I have done? All right? He did stop the flights, as he said 1,000,000 times, but he didn't say, hey, you see this mask here? Wear it. Protect yourself and others. Didn't do that. That was a mistake. However, if you look at Europe, and Biden had an answer, and he goes, Europe had started at a lower level. That's not true proportionally, all right? Europe was very proactive in telling people, got to wear the mask, you got to stay out of groups, and you got to stay 6 feet apart, whatever. Didn't matter. It didn't matter because the contagion is driven by personal behavior that no government can regulate. You can fine the people, you can threaten the people, but you can't stop the people from having a party, all right? From doing irresponsible things, from associating with strangers. You can't stop them. That's what has upped the virus for the second round. Plus, people are tired, all right? They're exhausted from the mask, from the distancing. They just want it to end, and some people let their guard down. Chris Christie, former governor of New Jersey, said today in the Wall Street Journal, I let my guard down. I wasn't as vigilant as I should have been with the mask, and so I got it. All right? Is that Trump's fault? No, it isn't, but he was not a crusader. However, Donald Trump has a very strong point, is that he kept the nation from collapsing financially, and that most people have investments in the markets for retirement, for education, other things, and that if he had panicked, the markets could very well have tanked, and that if he had been an advocate for closing everything down, like they just did in Ireland yesterday, 150,000 Irish are going to lose their jobs because the government shut everything down again. There's only 5 million people in the entire country. Do that here, we have 330 million people? Come on. You've got to temper it. And the schools are open in most places. There hasn't been a disaster. There hasn't. So Biden, I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna fix it. No, you're not. I mean, I'm not an idiot, and neither are you. Biden's not gonna fix anything. He may be more proactive, but if he is, he's gonna hurt the economy. So you, the American voter, have to make a decision. Did Trump screw up? Is he responsible? All the Hollywood loons think he is. All right, all the corporate media think he is. I don't. But I'm a forward-looking guy, and here's why I'm casting my vote against Biden-Harris. All right, it's not so much I'm jumping up and down, and I've known Trump for 30 years, and I speak to him on occasion. All right, and I'm always very, very honest with him. But I can't vote for Biden and Harris. They're going to disassemble the entire country. I mean, the energy industry is just the beginning. Kamala Harris doesn't believe in due process. She doesn't believe in it. I mean, that means you're guilty if she thinks you are. We saw that. She's the most liberal senator in the United States. Open borders? You betcha, as Sarah Palin once said. Pay for the health care costs? And again, Donald Trump should have just laid that on him tonight. I don't want my taxpayer money going to pay for foreign nationals' health care. People who've come in here and violated our laws. I don't want that. Biden does. But the biggest thing, all right, the biggest thing is the economy. Biden's going to spend trillions of dollars on theoretical global warming stuff. We owe $30 trillion. And in order to spend all the money that Biden wants to spend, free health care, free education, free child care, free this, free that, boom, 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 he's got to take private property from me and from you. They've got to seize private property. That's the wealth tax. They have to. They can't tax high enough wages. There'd be an armed rebellion if they did that. They're already talking about affluent people paying 60% of their wages and taxes. But it's not going to be enough, not nearly enough. You're going to have to come and take private property. Kamala Harris does not believe in private property. And Biden is just befuddled. Oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. The strongest thing that Trump had tonight during this debate was, you're all talk. Your career, you haven't been an innovator. You haven't done anything. You're a default candidate because the others were so far left, so socialistic. The Democrats knew they couldn't put him up. So they had to go with you because you're attached to Barack Obama. And ironically, Barack Obama is making millions and millions of dollars now. $350,000 for a speech. His new book comes out in a few weeks. He just bought a big spread in Martha's Vineyard. He lives lavishly in Washington, D.C. I guess he's okay with the wealth tax because it's going to hit him right between the eyes. So that is why I can't vote for the Democrats. I can't vote for any of them. And I usually do vote for some Democrats. I can't vote for any of them because I don't want my private property seized by the federal government. I want to be able to protect my family with a firearm. They don't want you to be able to protect yourself with a firearm. I want the unborn to be protected at some level. They don't want to protect the unborn. It just goes right down the list. Traditional America, forget it. Freedom of speech, you don't have it. You say something that's not in sync with Black Lives Matter, you can get fired. Or get a D on a paper if you go to an Ivy League school. This is the country. I don't want to live here. I don't want to live in that country. How can I vote for these people? I don't mind Joe Biden. I mean, I know him. He would never interview with me. He knows he can't stand up to me. I'd take him apart in 5 minutes. Because he doesn't have the fundamental grasp of what the big picture is. He doesn't. All right? And Trump, he's got his blind spots. But Trump's not going to destroy traditional America. He's not. And I believe that this is a noble country. I believe we need to be improved. But that's why I write all these history books. If you read Killing Crazy Horse, you'll see how bad Washington, D.C. treated the Native Americans. But it's not all the way you heard it. There's a lot of gray areas. And there are reasons things happen. Same thing with race relations. It's not all one way. But you can't get into any of that. You can't even teach kids about Native American history in this country for fear that they'll say something politically incorrect and get fired. I don't want to live in this kind of a country. So those far left people, and Biden is the champion of it. He can say, oh, I don't want socialized medicine. He's not going to stand up to them. He won't. And the final thing is, if in the next 10 days, it is shown beyond a reasonable doubt, even if the media doesn't cover it, I will, and others will too. Talk radio, Fox News. Okay? If it's shown that he used his power as vice president to enrich his family, no American should vote for him. All right. So we want you to go to BillO'Reilly.com. We want you to spread the word. Only you were seeing this tonight. and on the First TV and all of our distribution points. You're seeing it. We're going to open it up for everybody over the weekend. Tell them to come here, please. It means something. We have millions of people now. We want tens of millions of people. All right? We've got a lot of good stuff for you if you go into our store for Christmas. I'm not going to get into it now. You should read Killing Crazy Horse. I hope you do. It's a very fine book. Just read the reviews on Amazon.com by the folks. I really appreciate you staying up late and watching this. I want to hear from you. Bill@BillO'Reilly.com. Bill@BillO'Reilly.com. On Monday and Tuesday, we're going to do a lot of mail. And questions about the candidates, questions about the election, we are on it. You will get the best, the smartest, and the fairest coverage of this election right here. Have a great night.